Welcome viewers to another very special episode of Your Britain. Yes, Your Britain every Monday 5 p.m. UK time, broadcasting to over 100 countries around the globe on the platform of Kanshi TV. Yes, Kanshi TV, your number one entertainment channel, serving all our communities here in the UK and of course right across the globe. And as always, you're very familiar on Your Britain. We try to cover subjects, especially subjects which are affecting our citizens here in the United Kingdom and on some occasions across the globe. And for that reason, we have a special guest in the studio as always. If you're regular viewers of this program, you will know that we have new faces, new topics, new subjects which we discuss to benefit all our communities. I first sincerely apologize. The last two programs I have been not very well. I couldn't make it, but of course you've seen the repeats, but hopefully I'm feeling a lot better now. And for that reason, Your Britain carries on as normal every Monday 5 p.m. live on Kanshi TV. Reviewers, let me also remind you very briefly about the situation about the COVID. As you know, it's still happening, so please protect yourself, protect your families. The latest figures we have, they've gone well over 46,000 people have lost their lives. If we talk about around the globe, you've seen America, you've seen many other countries have been very heavily affected due to COVID-19, and of course in the last couple of hours and last couple of days we've seen people who have been traveling abroad. My simple message to you at this moment on this beautiful platform is that if it's necessary, and it's a must that you have to travel, by all means do so. But if you can avoid traveling at this particular moment, try to stay within the United Kingdom just for another couple of weeks and let's see how things go. Protect your families, don't forget social distancing, don't forget cleaning your hands and cleaning hand sanitizers and stuff like that. So basically make sure that you're fully protected when it comes to COVID-19. As I said, it's still happening, so a lot of people, I've seen a couple of weeks before, a couple of days before, people are going, and particularly in the Asian community, I'm referring to you. If you belong to the Asian community, you're carrying on as normal, you think it's all over. Let me tell you, the fact is it's not all over, it's still happening. So be very careful at all times. Today I have a very interesting program which I will be conducting with my special guest here in the studio, a very good friend of myself, somebody who I've known for many years. Of course, she is in the profession of accountancy. She is an accountant, a registered accountant here in the United Kingdom. Many people have requested me to do programs, to benefit them in terms of questions and answer sessions. Of course, if you've been watching Your Britain for the last year or so, I've covered many subjects. We've had doctors, we've had lawyers, we've had accountants, we've had people from politicians, religious community members. We've had people right across the board who have been coming on Kanshi TV in Your Britain to benefit the rest of our communities. So today, for that reason, we have the one and only lovely Amina Hussain, accountant, a public accountant who's been in the profession for over 22 years. Yes, that's 22 years experience that she has, particular when it comes to taxation and particular advising people on how to protect themselves and save themselves when it comes to cost efficient and so on. So she is going to obviously guide us in the right directions. If you've got any questions, by all means, 01215024304 is a live studio number. As I said, I've got approximately, you can see in front of me, over 26 questions. I know this is going to be very impossible within the next 50 minutes to go through all these questions, but I can assure you and promise you, Amina will be back in the next couple of weeks, and we will continue answering your questions in the next coming weeks and months. So for that reason, first and foremost, let me welcome my guest Amina Hussain. Welcome to Kanshi TV and welcome to Your Britain.
Thank you, Shazad Iqbal from Kanshi TV. Thank you for inviting me here.
It's such a pleasure to have you here this afternoon. As I said in my introduction, We have over 180 countries watching us live. This program will be also repeated on Sky 772. It will be also on social media, websites and so on. So people will take full advantage of your advice that you will be providing them today. I know that there are many people who in the UK who have been in businesses for many years, but still have no accountants even up to date. And particular in our Asian families, you know, people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Asian countries, you know, they're still in the same scenario where they have been doing businesses, whether it's been small businesses, particularly the small businesses I'm referring to, the corner shops, or maybe somebody running a furniture shop, or somebody running a newsagent, or a little takeaway or something. Yeah. They absolutely are still deluded in a way that they don't have, they believe in that it's just money coming in and then taking the money home and that's the end of the story. You know, that's the motto or belief that they have. And I honestly don't blame them for a second, because they haven't got the knowledge, they haven't got nobody's there to aware them, you know, make awareness to them, and nobody's there to highlight these issues. And for that reason, we've given you this beautiful platform. I know, you know, you wanted to benefit the community, and this is why we provide this platform to our guests and of course to our viewers, is to benefit the community. First and foremost, Amina, how long have you, as I said, you've been in this business for 22 years. From today, going back approximately 22 years in your profession, accountancy, what are the changes that you have seen?
Well, I've seen, being in the background of insolvency and restructuring and accounting, I found that a lot of the business, the reason why they get investigated, especially with HM Revenue Custom, is because they don't declare their income properly. And they can keep basic books and records, for example, and they may not be declaring it because they don't understand how to declare it. So, and one of the reasons what I'm used to highlighting as a forensics accountant, to be honest, is people need to be shown how to declare their income and how to maintain the books and records. It's just simple basic accounting that they need to do. They need a bit of guidance, and this is what I'm here, just to give you a bit of advice on what you need to do in terms of keeping your records up to date.
You see, the problem is that why I keep on saying our Asian community, there are less aware of all this, you know, knowledge. They haven't got the basic knowledge, basically. You know, they've got the knowledge of doing the business, and they're doing fantastic jobs. Our Asian communities are doing a great job, whether it's starting from a local supermarket, going all the way to big franchises, or bigger companies and bigger investments. They're doing a great job. But the problem is that some of them, not all of them, but some of them have still no knowledge of going to accountant or making sure that they're following the right footpath and making sure that they're following the right rules and regulations. So that's something which I want to ask you today. And first question, which I feel is very important, and I'm sure my viewers will be thinking about this one as well, is why is there a need for an accountant?
Well, accountants they pretty much are a tax agent. That's what they know now, from HM Revenue Customs point of view. So whether you're a sole trader or a limited company, you need an accountant to submit your tax returns accurately. And a lot of people say they can do it themselves, and they attempt it, especially with, for example, your local grocery stores, or it could be a taxi driver, or it could be rental income property. You still need to do the tax returns around it. And a lot of people, if they don't do it right, and HM Revenue Customs investigate them, the first thing they ask is, who's your tax agent, who's your accountant?
Of course.
So it's very important to get yourself a qualified accountant to submit your tax returns.
Right, many people will also want to know what's the difference between a sole trader and a limited company. Can you briefly explain what's the difference?
So a sole trader is pretty much a one-man band. A sole trader, you register yourself with HM Revenue Customs. It's a straightforward process. You need to just go online and register yourself. Your year end is normally 5th of April every single year. That's how it works. With a limited company, it's a bit more. You've got to report it to through Companies House and HM Revenue Customs. So you've got two government agencies where a limited company is used to declare their income. A limited company gives you a bit more credibility. It's more like if you had a grocery shop, let's talk about grocery shop, because that's a typical example. Yes, you can be a sole trader. There's no issues with whatsoever. But with a limited company, it kind of If someone wants to do a company search on you, they can find you. You've got a bit more credibility.
Okay.
With a limited company, there's more advantages because your tax bill is most likely to be less than a sole trader. A limited company holds its own liabilities. If you're keeping your records up to date in a certain way, a limited company will safeguard you more than as a sole trader.
You see, because there are many accountants, here in the United Kingdom. I haven't got the exact figures, but I'm sure you will. But we're talking thousands of accountants who are operating at this particular moment in the United Kingdom. How does one choose
the right kind of accountant?
The right accountant, because many people will say, well, how do I go to accountant? How do I approach accountant? What do I need to know about that accountant? And why should I then stick to my accountant?
Okay, first of all, you've got to be comfortable with your accountant. You've got to understand your accountant's language, the way they speak. Okay. If you don't understand your accountant, then to be honest, you will have issues. It could be a language barrier, it could be the way the accountant's translating your figures to you, you don't understand. You don't need to be figure savvy, you don't need to understand your own figures, but it's very good to have a very good accountant that can explain how to do your bookkeeping or what your figures mean or how to save money on your tax bill. So whoever you've got out there, don't look at the pricing, please don't look at the pricing. Look at the quality of the service they're offering. Compare, go out there and look at 3 different types of accountants. Get 3 quotes, but it's what value you're getting for your money, which is the most important thing.
You see, when it comes to small businesses, particularly when you're referring to a corner shop, or when you're referring to a small business, I'm talking about a sole trader at this particular moment, I'm talking about the first thing that will be in their mind, which shouldn't, but will be in their mind, is how much is the accountant going to charge me?
Yes.
That's human nature. Whereas big companies, or the bigger corporations and limited companies and so on, that might not be the case. But when it comes to single one-man band, one-man show, sole trader, they will say, they will go around, no doubt they will go around to 4 or 5 different ones, but prices are starting, as you know, for example, you've given an example about taxi drivers, prices are starting approximately here in Birmingham from £70.
Which is ridiculous.
So some of the accountants in Birmingham, we've seen leaflets just before we conducted our research. We of course do our own research. We've seen leaflets for starting. I'm not saying from. So basically, when we've got in contact with a few that we've spoken to, it's around the £70 mark, maybe 80, 90, 100, but around that sort of figure. They wouldn't go more than that. That's for a basic. I've given an example of a basic taxi driver account.
That's a piece of paper.
Which they will submit. As it says, income, expenses, and that's it. Simple as that. And so when people will think about this twice, particularly when you said don't think about the money, in our Asian community, you're very well aware of this, that people base a lot of their things on how much is this going to cost me. How do we explain to them that that's not the case? Okay,
I'll give you a typical example, a live example. I promised myself I won't speak about COVID, but it is related around what's happening right now.
Of course it is, especially due to the self-employment and the government
tax return and declaration.
Of course it is,
So the biggest problem we've had in a community, and I've seen it a lot, and I've been approached by a lot of individuals who've not had accountants or have had previous accountants who have not helped them the way they need it. Paying an accountant £70 probably gets you a tax return. No advice, no structure. No help regarding what's out there. For example, there might be a grant, there might be tax credit available. There's so many different sensitive areas for any individuals to look at and review, but they won't know. They expect their accountants to tell them, and accountants do have that kind of knowledge. And so I say to clients, look, you can pay £70, but don't expect your accountants to explain all your entitlements and what's out there for you. If you get yourself a decent accountant with reasonable price, for example, you shouldn't, and to be honest, it shouldn't be extortionate. You should be getting the basic needs, such as what do I need in terms of getting a grant or loan, how to open up a bank account. These are essentials, especially around COVID. For you to even get a grant, you need.
So it's basically, you're saying, base your accountant on quality,
Yes.
not quantity.
Yes,
Basically,
please.
pay that little bit extra,
and you get more for your money.
and you'll get a bit more than just the basic of filling in a return form, and that's the end of the story. And sometimes you can even one can do that themselves. You know, why would you even want to pay 70? Then you might as well
Why
do
pay
it.
70?
You
Why
might as
pay
well do
70
that
if you're going to
yourself.
do yourself? What you're looking for is an advisor. You need a tax advisor, someone who will hold your hand and say, right, okay, these are your figures, this is your tax. However, did you know that you're entitled to this and that?
And when,
just based on their
and when
income.
you've said that somebody, you know, reliable, somebody who's going to hold your hand, somebody's going to support you in bad times, who regulates you guys?
So we have our own regulated bodies like ICAEW, but then if there was any complaints about accountants, you know, you can report them as long as they get a license. So generally, when you're signing up to an accountant, the accountant should be able to give you a letter of engagement.
And the name of the body?
Yes, so you put ICAEW, it could be AAT, it could be ICA, it could be any one of them. As long as they're regulated, it should be on their letter of engagement.
And you should, one business or sole trader should always go to a regulated accountant.
Public accountant, just because it's not about being chartered, it's about if they're public, if they got a license to trade and submit accounts.
Right.
So there is a difference.
So viewers, that's something I really want you to emphasize, that by all means you are covered. If you feel that your accountant is not treating in the way that they should be treating you, just like a doctor, just like a lawyer, you got the SRA, like the doctors, all these regulators who regulate these people, then by all means you have the full rights of making complaints to these regulators. But the message is very clear: pay that little bit extra and get that extra support. Right, so I was going to ask you about why accountants are important, but I think you've answered that question. The reason why they're important is because they're basically advising you and you should feel comfortable with them.
Showing you direction, especially with COVID-19 and everything, telling you what's out there for support, saving you money on tax, telling you what else you can do to expand in your area of business. So it's not only about earning, it's about business growth. So, if you've got an ambition and you want to grow your business, then get yourself a suitable accountant.
Right. When people prepare for the accounts, especially with people with less knowledge or awareness or experience, it's difficult for them. If, say, for example, I wanted an accountant and before I'm coming to yourself or before I'm going to any accountant, what are the documents that I need to prepare?
So first of all, for under the AML, which is anti-money laundering, it's a all accountants would need this. They need identification. So when you go to see your accountant and you've made your mind up that you're going to use that accountant, the accountant should be asking you for photo ID, a passport ID, a driver license, a utility bill, something recent, just to identify who you are. And then that's all you probably need to start off with. It's very important that the accountant gives you a letter of engagement. I keep emphasizing that because a lot of the clients that I've come across, their accountant hasn't even given them basic terms and conditions of the service, and they don't know what their entitlement is in terms of what they've paid. So it's very important to get that read or get a second opinion. It doesn't cost much. It shouldn't cost you anything to get a second opinion. You need to know what you're entitled to. I keep emphasizing that because having an accountant, you may not have no knowledge, but if you compare one accountant to another accountant, you can pick up from both accountants what you've been missing and how you're understanding your own books.
You see, a lot of people would also say that now we've gone to the next stage. So we basically talked about the importance of accountant, why we need an accountant, who regulates the accountant, and also what are the important facts and the points that you should look upon before going to accountant. Let me just move one step forward now. Let's go on to money saving, because our Asian community, they love when we spread out the message of how we can save money. When we say there's a money saving activity going on, they absolutely open arms love you for that. So let's go on to some of the money saving tips and advice. How can a business save money on tax?
Basic books and records are the most important thing. It could be expenditure. Keep receipts.
Okay.
Don't just guess and put figures on a piece of paper for your accountant. Get books and records, get receipts, physical receipts. There's so many different ways you can submit your receipts to your accountant. And if you're traditional and you don't understand, keep physical receipts even in a box somewhere.
Right.
I tell you why receipt plays a massive part, because without the receipts, without the expenditure, you can't reduce your tax bill.
Right.
So and don't be ashamed to ask your accountant questions like, how about if I get a car? Do I get any tax benefits? And that's one of the most typical question, by the way, about a car. But then there's other ways you can save money. For example, mileage. So travel expenditure, training, insurance, premises, these are all expenditures, let alone the products you're buying to sell. These are all expenditures, so keep receipts. If you don't have receipts, you might be subject to investigation. So your accountant can save you money, by the way. They can save you all sorts of money by just declaring it.
Basically, to
but
keep
then,
the receipts is in your
safeguard
favor.
yourself.
Of course.
So if the accountant's saving you money, you need to support that with documentations. So for example, having expenditures just safeguards you. So when you have a tax investigation, you know exactly how to deal with revenue and customs, HM revenue and customs. So save money by keeping your receipts. Expenditure.
Excellent news. Now we're going to move one step ahead. Sometimes you may be very familiar that there can be mistakes made when it comes to accounting, and sometimes these are not deliberate mistakes. There can be made mistakes. You know, we're all human beings. We may have forgot something, or we may have not inserted something that in the paperwork or in the file. How does one go about that? Okay,
there's two types of way. You can either amend your accounts. And you can ask your accountant to amend it or get it adjusted in the second year. But my opinion is, if it's like minor mistakes, it all depends what it is. It could be a certain expenditure. But if it's like the major mistakes to watch out for, where you need to make an honest declaration, is your income. If you've missed out, for example, a whole month's worth of income, that you need to declare. So you need to get in touch with your accountant, get it amended as soon as possible, and pay your relevant tax bill to avoid the taxman investigating you further and issuing you penalties.
Right, absolutely, and nobody wants that.
No.
And for that reason, I think it's going to be very important to ask you, because viewers will now be probably thinking, right, I'm all ready now to go to my accountant, I've chosen my accountant, I know what are the most important points that I should be looking at, the facts that I should be looking for in an accountant. Now, what happened, for example, if somebody is obviously, late, and again, that could be a genuine reason, people have all sorts of issues and problems. A genuine reason somebody's forgot to
submit the tax return on time.
On time, what happens then?
Okay, so get your account submitted, tax returns submitted as soon as you can. Don't delay it, because there are fines on a daily basis. Now, if you're a limited company, you'll get fines from Companies House. And it starts from £150 for the first month. After that, it can extend to £375 up to £1,500.
That's for limited, you're talking
for
about.
For a limited.
And
for a sole trade, and with limited also, you've got fines with HM Revenue and Customs, so you get two lots of fines. Whereas a sole trader, you get the similar type of fines on a daily basis, starting from £100 to about £1,500 to £1,900, depending on
a month, you mean?
No, for the year. If you don't declare it. And the appeal process can be very difficult now, because HM Revenue and Customs, unless you've got a valid excuse, they won't accept the legitimate appeal. So you need to be very careful and get it done very, very quickly. And the sooner you get it done, the quicker you can appeal it and reduce your fines.
And for that reason, when should people file their accounts then? Okay,
for a sole trader, it's different. So as I mentioned, year end is 5th of April. Every year. So, for example, this year.
Amina, can I just stop you for 1 second, because we've got somebody with us on the phone lines. Hello.
Oh, hi there. How are you?
I'm fine, sir. Your kind name and where you're calling from, sir?
So my name is Jamil. I'm calling from a company called Bootcamp Media. We're based in Birmingham. We're a marketing agency. I know Amina quite well. I've followed some of her work and seen some of her advice on the forums as well.
Okay.
Just wanted to say thank you. It's a great tips there that you've given Amina today.
Thank you.
I have one question though, and it is COVID related, unfortunately, which I know you didn't want to talk about.
Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I'm hoping that's you're going to be open to answering that if that's possible.
Yeah, go ahead. She's listening to you.
So, a number of people who are entrepreneurs have obviously had to furlough their staff, but haven't been able to furlough themselves because they've been under the threshold and they've been earning dividends. Now, obviously, there's a number of people who felt hard done by because they wouldn't be able to continue operating during this period. Just wanted to know your advice around that, really. Obviously, we continued working, but I know quite a number of people that weren't able to work during this period, even as entrepreneurs.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll put your question forward to Amina. Thank you very much for taking part, and thank you very much for calling Kanshi TV. Many thanks, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamil. So my response around that, to be honest, that's a very good question, and it's a very common question around directors' wages. Like, for example, pretty much a lot of the directors in UK right now have been claiming prior to COVID wages, small wages where they pay small little national insurance, probably paying themselves 8,000 to 9,000 a year, and they're taking themselves big dividends. Unfortunately, they have been affected by this whole COVID-19. There's not been many thing that they're entitled to, all because they've taken small wages and big dividends. Now, how this furlough payment that Jamil's on about works on a certain percentage of your income, and if you're not earning, if you're earning £800-900 a month, you're only entitled to a small fraction of that every single month. And what's happened is, unfortunately, what I would say is, although you're entitled to a small fraction, which was 80%, and it's all changed now. It's gone down to 70% furlough, 80% of the wages. Don't feel that you missed out, all because trade will pick up. There's probably bounce back loans right now that's supporting you. But more importantly, you've avoided paying high national insurance and tax bills previously. So because you've not paid big PAYE bills and big national insurance bill as a director, you feel you're missing out on furlough, but you're not really, because you've not paid big bills to get compensated by the government. So what my advice is, keep going, keep working. And also, more importantly, if you are struggling, there are help out there. If you're not extracting dividends from your company because there isn't any profit, you're entitled to tax credit, working tax credit. So don't feel ashamed. Get on that phone to HM Revenue and Customs and get yourself extra funding. Just because you missed out on furlough, you can get tax credit.
Fantastic. Well, let me, because we're on this subject about COVID, and I've seen a couple of weeks back many articles I've seen, and maybe you've come across some as well. That the grants, which were approximately £10,000.
Yes.
I have now been seeing some research and some statements of prosecutions. People have been unlawfully claiming these grants, which shouldn't be claiming. Have you come across anything like this at this particular moment? Because we've seen this in mainstream media as well.
Well, thankfully, my own clients, I've safeguarded them, so I've given them the advice they need. But generally, what I've seen and heard, like you, is, so you've got the self-employed income support scheme, which is self-employed grant. That's what it is. That's not 10,000, by the way. That's according to their self-assessment over the last 3 years calculations. There's a second one that's out, by the way. I just quickly brush up on that. That's available right now. It's second grant available to self-employed, but it's discretionary. So there is a declaration that you need to tick online that states that have you suffered since July, has your income decreased, and can you show evidence of that? You're ticking a lot of boxes, you're going to get the grant money, but eventually HM Revenue Customs may just investigate you by looking through your bank statements. So just be very mindful when you are submitting that self-employed grant second time around. Now, that other one that you're on about...
Let me just, because many people will now, many questions will raise on what you've just said, in particular in our Asian community. if you give me just a permission, just in Urdu, we can explain this to them.
Go on.
क्योंकि पिछले दिनों में आप लोगों को पता है कि जिस तरह क्योंकि ये एक बहुत ज़रूरी सवाल है, वरना तो हमारा प्रोग्राम इंग्लिश में होता है, लेकिन हमारी कम्युनिटी स्पेशली जो हमारी एशियन कम्युनिटी है, इंडिया, पाकिस्तान, बांग्लादेश जिनके साथ तल्लक है, उनको मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि आप लोगों ने जो ग्रांट लिया गवर्नमेंट से, उस वक्त जिस तरह अमीना ने कहा कि उस वक्त तो उन्होंने आपको दे दिया है, क्योंकि जो फॉर्म पे आपने टिक किया, ऑनलाइन किया या जो भी एप्लीकेशन का प्रोसेस था उसके मुताबिक आपने जो फिल किया तो गवर्नमेंट ने आपको दे दिया। लेकिन ये बात का ज़रूर अपने ख्याल रखना है कि अगर खुदा का खास्ता, हम ये नहीं कह रहे कि वो करेंगे, ये नहीं, मैं ये कह रहा हूँ अगर खुदा का खास्ता वो आप चेक करें आपके अकाउंट्स, क्योंकि उस वक्त आपसे वो इसलिए आपको दे रहे थे, आपसे पूछ रहे थे कि अगर आप हार्ड फील कर रहे हैं कि आपके पास पैसा नहीं है, आपकी इनकम नहीं है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं आपकी ज़ीरो इनकम होनी चाहिए, लेकिन इतनी नहीं है जितनी आपकी इनकम थी पहले। बेसिकली अगर फॉर एग्जांपल मैं इससे भी आपको सिंपल थोड़ा सा आगाह कर देता हूँ, समझा देता हूँ कि अगर आपकी 1000 पाउंड इनकम थी तो उसके बाद ड्यूरिंग टू कोविड और जब आपने अप्लाई किया तो आपकी इनकम 300-400 हो गई है, दैट्स व्हाई यू लिविंग ऑन दैट। लेकिन अगर आपकी इनकम 1000 पहले थी और जब आपने ग्रांट अप्लाई किया फिर भी आपकी 1000 ही थी या 1000 से 2000 हो गई है और फिर आपने ग्रांट ले लिया उनसे, तो फिर थोड़ा सा इस बात का आपका ख्याल रखना है कि अगर खुदा का खास्ता HR ने आपने उन लोगों ने आपको इन्वेस्टिगेशन शुरू कर दिया है तो शायद आप लोगों को फिर प्रॉब्लम पड़ जाए। मुझे पता है कि बहुत से लोगों ने जो मुझे भी जानने वाले हैं और आपको भी जानने वाले हैं, उन्होंने तो एक किस्म की ईद बनाई हुई थी, मेला बन गया था कि चलो भाई हमको 10,000 मिल रहा है, किसी को 10 मिल रहा है, किसी को क्या मिल रहा है, एंड इट वाज अ बिग थिंग। एवरीबॉडी वाज indirectly so happy that the COVID took place indirectly because they were receiving so much money and they thought this is, you know, Bob's your uncle and everybody's happy with this. Now that you've highlighted that, hold on, although you've got that money coming in, the reason they gave you that money is basically because you're saying that your income is not what it used to be. Of course, the government is not saying starve, but the example I've given to them, and maybe you can correct me in that because you're a professional in that. If you're earning £1,000 at that time and you're earning £200 or £300, £400, dramatically your income is dropped. That's fine. They will cover you.
Around about 70%.
70%.
Yeah.
They will cover you for that. You know, round about 70%. You know, give and take a couple of percentage. They will cover you for that, but they won't cover you if you're earning £1,000 at that time, and then
you're doing it
now again,
and you're claiming your grant.
Claiming a grant. So HG said Dubara, the reason why I've got this message out in our own language, which everybody understands, Urdu, is be extra careful. Don't just be excited and say that I'm going to get this, and then later on it might cost you a lot more. Right, Amina? Some things we have to point out.
There's other things, because it's a core subject right now, and it's very important.
Right, so you were on the point of
you were talking about £10,000 grant that we didn't talk about. That's to do with premises, to be honest. And, like you get, like for example, Birmingham, a clothing shop, a retail shop on Sahar Road, for example. They will be entitled to some kind of grant, and the 10,000 is available, has been available. I'm not sure right now. They need to contact Birmingham City Council for more help. Has been available where people have taken 10,000. That is their entitlement if they've been paying, if they've been a rate payer.
Again, let me ask you: can they be investigated on that?
Not for that, as long as they've. You see, with that, the local authority only gave that kind of money to people who've already been registered with Birmingham City Council, who have been part of the business rate, and they may not have paid rate, but they've registered themselves business rates to get that. So I don't worry about that. If they've received 10,000,
but the self-employment you're referring to,
it's the furlough and the self-employed are the two areas where
you have to be careful.
You've got to be very, very careful how you deal with it.
Excellent news. So basically, I think Amina couldn't be any more precise or clear about this. Thoda sa bach ke rehna. Acha, anyway, we're going to go now on to we talked about the fines. Who is HMRC and Companies House? Many people want to know about that.
Okay, so
what's the difference?
We've touched on that already. Sole trader. If you're a sole trader, then you just register yourself with HM Revenue Customs. HM Revenue Customs is a government department who regulate and they deal with tax returns. They monitor everybody through HM Revenue Customs tax return service. I'm trying to break it down so our community can understand this better.
Of
I'm
course.
trying not to use technical terms because I know.
No, by all means, if you want to say a few words in Urdu or any other language, by all
It's
means,
terrible.
you know, you're
I'll
most
stick to
welcome.
English.
You're most
So
welcome.
HMRC Custom is there to is a government agency, and so is Companies House. It's a government department who deals with limited companies. HMRC Custom deal with sole traders and limited companies too. They deal with different types of taxes. HMRC Customs. I'll just quickly briefly touch on that. You've got your self-assessment for sole traders, rental income. That's all through HMRC Customs. You've got corporation tax, which is through a limited company tax that you have to pay for your limited company. You've got payroll, which again is declared through HMRC Customs for your employees. You've got VAT. If you're earning above 85,000, you should be VAT registered, please. And again,
Sorry,
that's
how much? What was that figure?
85,000 turnover, sales income, where you need to be. It's a compulsory requirement where you need to register yourself with HMRC Customs. So if you're earning, just say you're a corner shop and you've not been registered, and you know your income in the 12 months will go above 85, get in touch with your accountant. Please get in touch with an accountant. Get yourself registered, because if you don't, you will be subject to fines. So HMRC Customs deals with all taxation needs, and Companies House is more for accounting needs.
Now, because many people would also get confused, particular in our Asian community, you know, the less fortunate people who understand the system. They will say, what's the difference between bookkeepers and accountants? Because that is something very important that we have to differentiate and let them know what the difference is.
It's very important. So I found a lot of clients who have used bookkeepers to submit tax returns. There's nothing wrong with that, but the biggest problem you're going to find is if the bookkeepers are not regulated.
When you say the bookkeepers, who are the bookkeepers?
Bookkeepers are people who punch numbers on a system, do reconciliation, probably sort out some invoices for you. A bookkeeper, a typical bookkeeper's, what the bookkeepers do is their job should be, their responsibility should be creating invoices for you, going through your bank statement, reconciling your bank account with sales invoices, with all your expenditure, compiling information on your behalf, because that's what a bookkeeper is. They're representing you and getting that information to your accountant.
So we know we've already covered accountant, so we won't be covering that again. But we just want you to know the difference between a bookkeeper, right? And what kind of businesses, generally on top of your head, what kind of businesses require a bookkeeper?
So it won't be a small one-man band, for example. Not even a grocery shop needs a bookkeeper. You should have a decent accountant who can do all of that in-house. Save yourself some money. Bookkeeper's more for if you've got financial credit control issues where you can't collect debts on times or you're collecting invoices late. You know, you need a bookkeeper to reconcile that with the bank. It's very good for financial controlling. Bookkeepers are brilliant for that. Or, for example, you've got expenditure and you don't know how to pay your suppliers. You've got lots of suppliers, and you could be a supermarket. A typical supermarket might need a bookkeeper, or a big like a big store, retail store, outlets, they need bookkeepers. You know, those are more like bookkeepers. If you've got a huge workforce, for example, if you've got employees more than 15, then think about taking on bookkeepers. Sometimes you might not need employees to have bookkeepers. It all depends on the number of transactions that are going through the books. And if you're not able to compile information on a quarterly basis to do VAT returns, bookkeepers is very, very important for VAT returns. So if you're VAT registered and you're earning above £85,000, and your accountant's not coping with, just say you got more than 2,000 transactions a week, go and get yourself a bookkeeper.
Right, now that we've touched upon that, I think it's very important that we touch upon payroll services. Now, you see, there's so many things here, the last thing we want to do is confuse our viewers, because you've got limited companies, you've got sole traders, you've got bookkeepers, you've got accountants. Obviously, it's too much to take in, and that's why I promised our viewers that Amina will be back in the next couple of weeks and months, and we will have to continue to do a couple of these programs to make sure, in particular, maybe in Urdu will help them as well. I know your Urdu, as you said, is not very good, but we'll polish you up for the next couple of programs. But anyway, let's move on to the payroll services. Now, Could you please explain what do you mean by payroll services?
Okay, so anybody, if I remember rightly in my head, because I have my own payroll department, I think it's £119 a week. If you're paying an employee more than £119 a week,
right,
then you need to be registered with HM Revenue Customs, preferably through an accountant or a payroll service. You register for PAYE, which means that on a monthly basis, you've got to declare what you pay your employees through payroll, and to pay them. So you will issue pay slips to your employees on a monthly basis and pay the taxes and national insurance and even pension that's due, and that's a different subject altogether, to be honest.
Right.
This is all payroll related. So payroll is a very, very big subject, to be honest.
Right.
But the first thing you need to understand, if you're paying somebody, that you got to question yourself, do they need to be on payroll?
Right.
Speak to your accountant.
So let me clarify this. So any sole trader or any limited company who's paying more than £119 to an employee must register with the HRM. Is that what you're saying?
And there's another ruling. I mean, just because you're not paying them £119, that's a special for an employee who doesn't have another job, if they're only working for you, because sometimes employee might have two jobs, a job with you and a job elsewhere.
Is the total going to be 119? Or
119 for anybody that doesn't have a job elsewhere. So when you're hiring somebody, you got to ask the question. It's normally a P46 that they have to complete to declare that they don't have a job elsewhere. If they don't have a job elsewhere and they're earning under 119, you're okay. You can declare it through your normal accounting system. But if you're earning, if you're paying someone £119 above a week, then you got to register for payroll. Or if they're under 119, you got to ask the question: are they working anywhere else? Because if there are, you still got to register for payroll with HM Revenue Customs. Speak to your accountant, get that assessment done.
बहरहाल नाज़रीन, ये तो आपने सुन लिया। चलो मैं फिर भी आपको बता देता हूँ कि मुझे पता है कि हमारे बहुत से व्यूअर्स हैं जो अपनी उर्दू ज़ुबान में भी ये सुनना चाहते हैं, तो उनको मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ, अगर आप सोल ट्रेडर हैं या आपकी छोटे सा कारोबार है, चाहे दुकान है, चाहे सुपरमार्केट है, चाहे कुछ भी छोटा सा कारोबार की मैं बात कर रहा हूँ, और अगर आपने किसी आदमी को एम्प्लॉय किया हुआ है और उसकी तनख्वाह 119 पाउंड 119 पाउंड ठीक है बिलो है, तो फिर तो आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। आपने नॉर्मल जो अपना अकाउंटेंट प्रोसीजर है, अपने अकाउंटेंट को बताना है दैट ही विल कवर यू फॉर दैट, और जो उसको आप पैसे दे रहे हैं बिलो 119 पाउंड, अगर उसी आदमी को, मर्द औरत को, आप 119 पाउंड से ज़्यादा उसको दे रहे हैं, तो फिर आपकी ये ड्यूटी बनती है कि आप HRM को डिक्लेयर करें कि ये तनख्वाह आप उसको 119 पाउंड से ज़्यादा दे रहे हैं। अगर खुदा का खास्ता आप नहीं डिक्लेयर करेंगे, ये भी आपके लिए बहुत एक मुश्किल शायद आज ना खड़ी हो, लेकिन आने वाले दिनों महीनों में आपके लिए और मुसीबत खड़ी हो जाएगी। तो इसलिए मैं ये बहुत वाज़ह ज़रूरी समझता था कि मैं आपको थोड़ी सी बातें जो ज़्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट में समझना है, तो सब कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट है जो मीना कह रही है, एवरीथिंग इज़ इम्पोर्टेंट, लेकिन some of the points मैं समझता हूँ जो बहुत ही ज़रूरी है हमारी कम्युनिटी के लिए, उनको मैं थोड़ी सी अपनी ज़ुबान में उनको एक्सप्लेन करूँ। जी,
Can I just add something while we're on the subject of payroll? So directors, and I found this a lot. Just because you don't have employees, a director is known to be an employee. And if they're earning above £119 a week for wages, which is, by the way, they are going above that threshold. If they're paying themselves something like nearly £900 a month, then you should also be registered for payroll. It's very important. Just because you don't have employees, you are an employee of your own company. So you need to get yourself registered through payroll. And it's a very good tax efficient way. You're saving money when you put yourself on payroll because you have your personal tax allowance as well, which is considered tax free. So use that by putting yourself on payroll if you have not put yourself on payroll as a director of your own company.
I've got many questions coming in. I've just had text messages which are coming in our studio. They've been passed on to me. As I said, we haven't got the time. I believe we've only got just under 4 minutes. But people now, Mr. Ali, in fact, has just texted me and he said, could you please explain the process of how charities work and what are the procedures? Now, Mr. Ali, I would love to ask Amina that, but I promise you, not on this program. I only have 4 minutes. I have to wrap the program. But we promise you in the next program, once we start going a bit more in depth of charities and foundations and so on, and she will definitely advise you, to the best of her ability of what way forward it is. Of course, by all means, remember this: you still need to speak to your own personal accountant, but as a guideline, she will give us a guideline. As I says to you, people are now sort of you woke everybody up actually. So people are now asking questions not just on sole trade and business. They want to ask questions on many other issues. But as I said, we just haven't the. Go on after
Sorry,
you.
just to bring it to everyone's attention, I am on a board of Chambers of Commerce, Asian Business Chambers of Commerce, where we are doing a campaign for local hard to reach businesses who need support. So if you want to text your contact details through this program, I'm quite happy to support them through the Chambers of Commerce. There are lots of available help out there for you guys. If you're struggling and you've got language barriers, please get in touch.
Of the main barriers.
Get in touch with us. It's free of charge service, and we will direct you where we need to.
Right, can I, because a lot of people, again, I think this is a very simple question, and a very simple answer is yes, but for many people, particular, again, with our Asian community, a bank account.
Oh, yes.
That is very important.
So important. Like, for example, the typical example, people talking about the bounce back loan, which is a very, it's the most common word I've heard in the last 4 or 5 months now. If you don't have a bank account, first of all, how are you declaring your income? So you are going to be subject to investigations, because if you're cash handling and you don't have bank account, you are high risk. You are the ones who will be investigated by Revenue and Customs, HM Revenue and Customs, not because you're small, it's because you're not declaring it. So get yourself a business bank account, whether you're a sole trader or a limited company. It doesn't really affect the taxi drivers, to be honest. Other than that, it affects businesses, sole trader and limited. Go and get yourself a bank account, a business bank account, not a personal bank account, because again, the banks don't like seeing money going into your personal account, because they can freeze your bank account. So be very mindful. Get yourself a bank account, whether you're a sole trader or limited. And not only that, it's very good for credit. For example, if you wanted a business loan in the future, you can get that if you've got a history, a banking history.
We've only got a minute. I've just been told by my prediction team. I've got another question coming in from Alia here. She wants to know about bank loans, about loans and so on. She says, how do we go about that? I think there are many questions.
So many questions.
Right, viewers, unfortunately and sadly, we can't go on any further. I would have loved to carry it on. As I said, there were many questions are flowing in now. We just have a few seconds left. On those words, let me thank the respectable Amina and saying thank you very much for coming onto Your Britain. Thank you very much for coming onto Kanshi TV. No doubt, inshallah, we'll see you in the next few weeks and months, and we will try to help all our communities where you possibly can and where I possibly can. And this is a platform for the community to help them in every way possible. Viewers, इसी के साथ thank you very much for watching Kanshi TV, Sky Channel 772, broadcasting to 180 countries around the world. Don't forget, you can watch this program again on Kanshi TV, which is going to be a repeat on Friday 2 p.m. So if you've missed this program, nothing to worry about. You can watch this Friday 2 p.m. All the repeats of Your Britons are repeated. From myself, look after yourself, look after each other. Love you. See you very soon. Bye bye.